Hello, guys. I'm gonna just go over a couple things here real quick. A couple things that I just wanted to talk about. I'll wait for a couple people to come in, and then we're gonna get started. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna stream some Tour 11. We're gonna just go through some holes, basically some live demos using the notebook application. What I want to go over briefly is just some notebook kind of new features and just kind of talk a little bit just so you can kind of see kind of the layout of the new tool here. So when I have the tool open here, you'll see that everything's similar, still the same club, same ball. But when you go into the wind menu, you're going to see a different layout. Well, you guys are going to have this. You don't have it yet, but it's coming. So you guys are going to have this probably tomorrow sometime. And you can see that the power sliders now all in one menu to basically just kind of make it to where you guys can use your adjustments faster. So you'll see as I input a wind that I have the slider here. And I'm going to go over and thoroughly kind of explain to you guys how to use this slider, because that seems to be the hardest concept with the new win numbers, is guys are just a little bit confused as to still how to use this stuff. If you are still confused, please do check out the tournament videos. Let me just go there real quick. Tournament, second anniversary tournament. All 9 holes of these use the new notebook numbers. They show you kind of how to go through everything. If you want the best overview, starting at hole 1, hole 2, each tour, and you can see how I'm going into YouTube here, and that's in the bottom right hand corner where you can launch these links. And each one of these guides here, rookie, pro, expert, both experts and both masters, they kind of have an overview on this first hole. So it really talks in depth kind of about using. Yeah, hey, nice to see you guys. So what you'll see here in the tournament section is with the, each one of these holes, especially hole number 1, it's very thorough with kind of explaining the new notebook numbers. So if you're looking for, extra help, this is a good starting point. Of course, I'm not going to be able to back up too easily. There we go. And through all 9 holes, if you guys are looking for advice, you'll be able to see live demos of shots being hit using the tool. But I'm going to go over some things here. Just, we're going to do some Tour 11. If you guys have questions that you want to ask, feel free to ask them, and I'll do the best that I can to answer them. I'm not going to stay streaming here very long. I'm probably going to maybe do like a half hour or so. So we're going to do some holes. I want to keep it relatively short because I want guys to be able to get some value out of coming back to it and finding the holes and shots that they want. That's one of the reasons that you guys don't see me stream to begin with live. I just don't, I don't like it. It's not good for educational content. And I'm not one that wants to kind of sit and ask you guys for money. So it's just not a very good structured format for me to use. And breaking up the videos for you guys to actually find usable shots and content, that's the main reason that I just don't live stream. It's just not, for me, basically. I prefer to get you guys one hole at a time, so you can go back, easily find it. And that's why you're seeing a lot of this YouTube format too. So if you haven't seen the new YouTube formula in here, when you actually use the notebook app, you can see all the tour data is actually displayed outside the video. So you already know what you're going to be seeing. And that's one of the main reasons that we did this to begin with and set it up this way, was to make it more user friendly to go launch videos and find content and be able to find similar clubs. Similarly, I'm not going to be able to press it, but in the top right corner, you can see that search bar up there. So you can do the same thing with the search bar in the right-hand corner. If you guys aren't taking advantage of that feature, You will want to use that to sort for tour content or tournament, but it also has a lot of valuable extra resources as well. So I'm going to pretty much just stop this at this point. We have 30 some people in here, and I'm just going to do some playing now. So as I mentioned, if you guys do have questions about something that you're having trouble with, feel free to just go ahead and type it on there. I'll do the best that I can to read and play at the same time. But I'm going to do some Tour 11 here. You can see that I'm kind of down. I'm down to the expert bracket. I don't play this game very often anymore because we're very busy with what we're doing with the app. So I'm not in this tournament with any accounts or anything of that nature. I pretty much just play one day bi-weekly to get you guys that content on those Mondays, tournament Mondays. So I might be a little bit rusty, but I should still be able to, manage to find my way around some holes here. So let's see if we can get some people. And we'll try to get some shootouts here. I'll try to force a couple shootouts. Like I said, I'm not going to do very much for you guys here. Maybe 3 holes, 4 holes or something. One thing that you'll notice is I have Thor's Hammer on. I really like this club for this tour. And with that much wind, one of the things I can do is I can set my bag up and I can input the wind. Another thing that you'll see is we're putting these lines in. So you guys will have that next update. As I mentioned, you guys will have this update in a couple days. So Thor's Hammer is looking like maybe about 15 rings down. Of course, I'm going to use some curl. And of course, my time's covered up too. But let's just try this real quick. See if this works. Looks pretty good so far. Let's see if I can get it to hold on. So one of the things that you could see I was doing, I was taking off of topspin. Once you get topspin up a little bit too high, you go into that right rough. So that's why you could see me kind of doing what the reason that I did. Another thing that you'll see is I use the max number though. Keep in mind that the only time max applies is when you actually keep that target at max and don't pull back from it. So it's a little bit confusing to some people because they just don't understand that concept. But here's what happens in Golf Clash. As you pull away from max with the target, the arc and shot is changing. So it's no longer a max adjustment. That's when you need to start bringing the slider into play. So the only time a max adjustment ever applies is when I keep that bullseye right at the red line like I just did for that shot. So that's the only time that you're going to be able to use the app numbers and use the directional input and be able to get benefit from a max adjustment. This is going to probably fit in that category as well. However, with this hole specifically, I like to, let's take a look here. I like to use some elevation. If you've ever seen this hole, and if you guys are a little bit confused about elevation, let's see if I can get this all in here. 11.4, 13.2 rings. So if you guys have ever seen, this is going to be tough. But if you look at this take shot view, you can see that it's very uphill. So I'm going to do this. Of course, I can't see my clock, but I'm going to just have to kill this thing. So I'm just going to go ahead and hope that it carries far enough. It looks like it did. Let's see if my spin's right. Not that good. Probably hit kind of a side hill and kind of had some wind effect there. But I needed to make sure that I really hit that thing hard because you could see the max ring adjustment was 13.2 rings. And I just wanted to make more certain than anything that I didn't clip the rough. So it was a little bit, smarter just to make sure that I could get to, the green. So let's take a look here. What you can do from the rough, especially when you drive it this far, you can definitely do a hop shot, or you can try to do it this way as well. Wow. That was a little unfortunate there. I was going to try to go to shootout, but it's kind of hard to going first because I don't know. I don't know if that guy's going to make it. And he is going to have a pretty straight wind, so let's just hope that he does so we can see some shootouts. It is going to be a relatively straight, easy wind where if you get your perfect ball, you can probably hold it out. But if you guys are using the new wind directional, you'll see that the ring adjustment numbers, they're much more intensified than in past versions. And all the data collection that I did kind of proved that to be the case. So that's why you're seeing the ring values that you're seeing reported. In my weeks that I just studied videos and just basically analyzed shots, where they landed, how much they missed by, that's how this whole system came about. And as far as somebody just made a comment there. Max number is the red line. So when you go into full overpower, that's no longer a max shot. It's typically about maybe 7% more. Oh, that guy said he wanted to play again. I didn't even know I had a live guy. But so what you'll see is overpower is typically about plus 7%. So if I was to set up a shot and use overpower, what you'll typically see me do is I'll just add 5% on the elevation to keep it kind of a low ball estimate, and it'll give you a much accurate result. So what I could have done for that, since I was using minus 15 for that adjustment, had I used minus 10, which would be an extra 5%, essentially, I'm adding 5% because I'm going essentially almost 7% overpower with that full shot. So this is a more accurate representation. However, I wasn't, anytime I'm going full like that, we're talking about an estimate that I really can't be precise on. How am I going to accurately measure on that drive or that second shot? It's very hard to calculate a very accurate estimation because you can't see how many rings into overpower you are and actually line up the target way out there in the middle of overpower. But if you're wondering about, a little bit better representation, you can always add 5%, which will pretty much kind of simulate full overpower. So let's just keep going here. Let me jump into tour 11 again. We'll do some more holes. I was fortunate to be able to pick up a win there, but I would have liked to have gone to the shootout for you guys, so you guys could have saw some shootouts, because that's the most important thing. So this tool, especially with the new ring values, it's much better for tour play. It has more practical usage for tour play. So this is essentially what it's designed for, because you can't shot replicate wins. So you need to come up with kind of a secondary method. Now, what I'll typically do here is typically kind of a layup shot. And if I wanted to do this into the notebook, I could. But again, I'm going to be using max, and I probably might use some overpower, so the same thing's going to kind of apply. Getting that +5 and getting it to, and also, checking out the elevation. It looks relatively flat here, to be honest with you. So the numbers that you see being reported are going to be reasonable. And you'll see I am going to go into overpower, and I'm going to essentially just kind of figure that about maybe 9 rings. Oh, I didn't even know how low time was. So I can't see my shot clock, by the way. So I'm just going to continue talking and waste all my shot clock. Maybe we'll get a second wind here that lets me drive the green. So another thing that you can do, which you can see my opponent doing on this hole, I do this sometimes too. There's kind of two ways to go about doing this. You can do this and set yourself up here on the right, just short of the pond here. But I don't find it any better than the alternative method. If you can drive it out to where I was just kind of trying to go, I don't find this to be any more usable, especially if you can get with a Thor's hammer. If I can get a Thor's hammer all the way up to kind of this tip up here, you know, it really does give you a nice angle. So let's just go ahead and we'll do this. You know, it's going to be the same shot setup that I was just talking about there. And we'll just go ahead this time it's going to be more like 12 rings. So I'm going to kind of crank up the top spin this time. And I'm going to try to pay attention to my clock just a little bit more. So if I'm thinking 12 rings, you know, I'm kind of looking back in this zone. Keep in mind that I'm still going to be using max because I'm going into max overpower here. So let's just see how this turns out. Ideally, what I'd like to do is get it, you know, curling over there far enough. And if I can get it down here long enough, it actually gives you a straight path with a B52. I probably would have been able to do it with the other wind, but now I can't. So that is kind of one of the advantages to going this way, is you at least have a clear view, but it's really no different. Like the shot that my opponent here is going to have to hit is a very curled right shot, whereas he'll have to curl it to the left from the right, and I'll just have to do the opposite. However, what I have is I have kind of a nice little kind of side hill that I can kind of use as a funnel. So sometimes you'll find out that going over this way can just give you a little bit better chance to be able to get it over to the hole. But similarly, I mean, you can see that you can still get it over to the hole going that way as well. So either or really, I really don't, you know, it's kind of, as I mentioned, if I could have just got this just a tiny bit farther, you can kind of see what I'm talking about here. So first thing that I'll typically do is just kind of scan, try to figure out how far I am. You can see that I'm going to need some curl. You can see that I was probably towards min club a little bit, just a tiny bit. But since I'm going to be pulling away, I'm going to need to kind of play mid club. So that's what you're going to see there. B52, 9-ish rings. So let's just go ahead with this, and you can see that I'm going to need some curl as well. That's 10-ish rings or more. And let's just see. So you can see kind of we kind of had to do similar things there. And as I mentioned, if I can get that drive up just a little bit farther, I actually do get a straight look. So I wouldn't have had to do all that curl, especially with a Kingmaker 3-side spin ball. So once again, we're not going to be able to see a shootout because I timed out on the tee. Couldn't see my shot clock. But we'll just keep going here. Do a couple more holes. So, as I was kind of mentioning on that approach shot there, you could see that when I did my initial scan, that my initial setup was towards min club. However, since I know I'm going to be pulling those 9-10 rings up towards mid club, that's why I used more of a slider positioning that was very close to the mid number. So, you know, do pay attention to that because that's always going to be the case. Hey, thanks guys. Thanks for checking this out too. So as I mentioned, you know, just doing this primarily to kind of just give you guys an outlet in case you're looking for notebook app help here. Another nasty wind. So what I typically sometimes try to do is, especially with Thor's hammer going towards the right, let's just see how this looks. And with a wind like this, I'm not quite as worried about you know, the land zone. I don't think I can get my Thors out there good enough. I could probably do it with a puck 6 or 7, or I could change my balls. But I'm just going to keep with Kingmaker, and we're just going to go this way because I don't mind going this way. In fact, I might do it with a slice shot, which will probably be somewhere over here. I'm just kind of, you know, winging that. All it really needs to do is hit the fairway one time. As long as it does that, doesn't really matter where it ends up. But as you can see, I did pull it off. Yeah, the slider is going to take some getting used to, but if you do notice on the update that you guys are going to get, you guys are probably going to get it tomorrow. You can see we moved it into the same wind portal here. So this is going to help you not have to go to it in a separate window and hopefully make faster adjustments. So you guys should be able to, you know, really crank out some speed a little bit. Try to save yourself 3 or 4 seconds by not needing to open that power slider every time. Of course, my clock management right now is really terrible because I can't see my clock. So let's take a look here. Probably going to do a hop shot off this island. You can see it's kind of towards Min Club. You can see how close I was to Min. With the side winds, it's not going to matter. Wherever you start and stop, it's going to be the same. So it really doesn't matter. You know, I'm not adding any extra distance. So I'm thinking, you know, somewhere in the neighborhood of 8-ish rings. However, I'm still going to need to play some ball guide offset. So that's why you're going to see me kind of start over here, kind of at an angle. And we're just going to go kind of maybe 8.4-ish rings. Let's try this. I can't see where my time is, so I'm just going to release. Not too worried about it. Just trying to give you guys more of a gist more than anything. It doesn't have to go in. I don't care. But if I did hit perfect ball, that had a chance. I had a very good chance. I would have usually let that swing an extra pass, and because I like swinging from the other view, but I couldn't tell I couldn't tell what my clock was at. I swore I could move that thing. I never remember that being quite at the top like that, kind of blocking everything. It's been a while since I streamed now. Thanks for showing up, guys. As I mentioned, you know, just trying to give you guys kind of a supplemental guide for using the notebook app and the numbers. It was really close. So that one really had a chance. As I mentioned, you'll still have to play your wind effect. You'll still need to play your elevation numbers. However, you're going to find elevation much easier to play. Like when I look at the take shot view here, there's a little bit of water, but there's not really undulation. There's no uphill, downhill. And that's one of the reasons that, you know, we built this tool the way that it is, because it actually makes much better model to where the elevations that you see from the take shot view are going to be much more realistic. You're never going to have to play these weird 20-30% overplays because it's a mega tailwind. Like we've built that in. And similar for headwinds, you'll see the same thing. And that's why this, you know, this model is kind of working very well. And, you know, I'm sure this is one of those holes where you guys probably want some assistance. I do not have these on my general discussion videos. I just haven't played these holes enough to feel comfortable in doing them. However, keep in mind that with our new format, it doesn't matter if I'm an expert, master, third tee, second tee, first tee. We're going to be pretty much talking about the same elevation number, unless there's a major difference in the tee ground for whatever reason. But here you can see it's all flat. So looking at this view, you can see if anything, so it looks like where we're landing is flat with where we start. if you guys can see that. However, it looks like the hole is kind of sitting up on a hill. But since we're landing on the flat spot, I'm not even going to use elevation on this. I think we can just use the basic ring numbers and just use our slider. So first thing that I'll need to do, I'll need to find the range. We're going to use 6.5. It looks like to me we're somewhere around 50% club. I'm thinking maybe 60. So you're just going to see me kind of angle this. 7.4 rings. Nope, wrong club. 6.7 rings. So almost one per ring. And then I'll just have to play the wind effect. Should be good enough here. As long as I can hit this fairway, that's going to be the key. If I don't hit the fairway, I'm going to put myself kind of in trouble. So here's what I'm doing. You can see that I'm curling. I'm trying to use curl as kind of my my wind play, but it looks like I over curled it. It's just a little bit too much compensation. So you can see that I had good speed. I hit the fairway the way that I wanted to. The only thing that I was a little bit wrong was how much curl to apply. So I used quite a bit. And as I was kind of mentioning about, the playing recently, I haven't, been doing a lot of tour play at all. I've just been doing kind of the tour tournament setup for you guys on Monday. And which means that, I've played very little with the new curl. So you can see how, all the curl fits in the portrait view now. So I tend to do that where I over curl it, just not thinking about it. So I should have, used much less curl there. But, this is what in portrait mode, I used to be able to go only 50 curl to the side. And now I can go 400. So what you'll see is sometimes I'll just over curl things just because I'm not, just up to full speed on, all the new changes that have been implemented. Hey guys. Okay, so I'm going to do one or two more. You could see, with that last shot, I should have been able to easily win that. And, same with you guys. If you guys can just kind of, you could see that where I landed on the fairway was quite good. The biggest problem with my shot was just my curls. So, and the only reason I even did all that was because my ball guide was originally to the left of the hole. So, just be conscientious of that as well. But as I mentioned, as you play through these holes, it gets easier. I make one mistake like that. The next time I learn from it. So that's the biggest key, is that whatever happens, you just kind of take it to the next time you play it. I saw how much I curled, and I will remember it for next time that I see that hole, and it just won't happen again because I'm very conscientious about trying to improve each time that I play through holes. And you guys should kind of take the same strategy when you guys play through tour as well. So let's see. This hole, there's kind of two different ways that I play it. Sometimes I go that way. That is going to leave a longer shot. However, going this way is also going to leave a longer shot. So it probably isn't going to matter too much. It's going to be hard to get to this one either way. What you should do is not what I'm doing. Putting on a power 4 ball, especially with me with Thor's hammer, and getting this down here farther, it's going to give me a better chance to win this outright. If I use a power 4 ball, I just don't feel like wasting it. I'm just going to use Kingmakers. I don't care if I lose it. It's not important. But here you can see we got a straight tailwind. That's going to make this shot really easy over here. My shot's going to be somewhat easy, a little bit more challenging, especially against a Cat 7. So what you can see with this is you can really crank the top spin up, and you'll be able to really climb this hill with not much effort. I would have had a little bit more trouble with a sniper doing it. Like if I tried to do this, it's almost just not quite enough. But you're actually seeing this actually roll through as well. And that wouldn't have rolled through without all that top spin. Like I would have never been able to do that with a sniper. But let's see what I can do. As I mentioned, you know, we can still kind of get back over here and give it a chance. So anytime I'm at max here, you know, I really don't need the tool. This is going to be uphill. So I'm just going to kind of gauge my power, and I'm going to just kind of full curl it. I'm only going to use about half power here. Let's just see what this looks like. Ugh, even mine rolled through, but mine actually caught that fairway edge. So one of the things that I used to try, well, the only time I've really played this is with a headwind. So I used to hit that shot with a headwind in the tournament. When we played this, I think, well, maybe it was the week of the tournament when this course came out and I was first running through the holes. But I'd play that shot with a headwind, and what would happen, it wouldn't clear that fairway like our balls did. It would actually clip the rough and then slide through. So here we're going to get to another shootout here. Let me see if I can't just run this in real quick. What I'll typically do is just dunk. So that's what I'm going to do. You have quite a bit of error when you go to dunk. Like I can miss by 3 rings and it'll still go in when I'm this close. That's one of the reasons that I do it, because there's an enormous amount of error. And it takes away anything that can happen wrong on the green. So let's take a look. So this one, I'm pretty sure the landing zone is relatively flat, but then it definitely rolls down that hill. So when you're doing your elevation, you're going to want to be thinking, what elevation do I use to the top of this hill, not where it's landing down farther. So if you're thinking about elevation, what you want to do is use the take shot view, and you want to look at this spot. This is the spot that you want to be looking at for your elevation, wherever the height of that is, which looks relatively flat. So again, you're not going to really see me use elevation on this hole. So, you know, this is another thing. So if I don't need elevation on this hole, I don't need it on the last hole. There's only one other par 3, and it's in the tournament. And you guys have already seen I've been using +5. So in terms of what kind of elevation numbers you're going to need for this course, even though I don't have the guides or the general discussion videos, it's going to be pretty much 0, 0, and +5. It's going to be very, very little elevation. All you're going to need to do is you're just going to need to use your slider and get these ring values down. And use your arrow. So that's what you're going to see me do here. This is going to be almost max club. So I'm thinking, you know, somewhere up in here. 98 point some rings. Aside from that, we're just going to play wind effect. So you're going to see that I'm going to offset my guide kind of similar to this, and then I'm just going to go these 8.1-ish rings. Of course, another great ball. But let's see how this rolls out. It looks like it's checking up. So I don't think it's going to quite get there. But, you know, a decent shot nonetheless. You can see my line's good. So, you know, you get the gist of what to do. And as I mentioned, you know, it's going to be... I can't even see if anybody's been talking to me, but I do know that guy. I've seen him around the tour a bunch. Let's take a look here. Let's jump in, and just like I mentioned, you know, these elevation numbers that you're going to be using are much more realistic. It doesn't matter what the wind direction is. If I just use 0 there, that means that hole, no matter what the wind is, I'm going to use 0. The only exception is if you choose to land down that hill farther. That's the only way it's going to kind of go downhill a little bit, is if you didn't try to use that land zone and you kind of switched up the driver. So you're going to see that there's much less use for elevation. And as I was mentioning, this tool the new ring numbers are very much developed for tour players. It is, you know, I haven't played tour in months, but I can just kind of master these shots just simply on being able to read the slope from the take shot feel. So that's the biggest thing you guys can take from this video. This is going to be the last hole that I do. You know, thanks guys for showing up for this stream. Appreciate you guys being here while I went live. As I mentioned, you know, this isn't something I'm probably regularly going to do. And for all of you guys who may have missed it as to why, I just don't, you know, it's kind of harder to organize my content this way. It really just doesn't fit into the structure of my channel. So, and as I mentioned, you know, finding my videos are just a lot harder this way. So, and I'm going to do +5 because I'm going into overpower. So if you're wondering why I'm doing that, probably use very little effect. Is this downwind? It's hard to tell. But I'm going to go 12 rings here, maybe a little bit of curl. Let's just see how it works. So typically I'd curl more than this, just so you guys know. The reason that I'm kind of scaling it back is the main reason. Let's see if it holds up. Nope. So I should still be okay, but sometimes it's not. What I was trying to do was clip the rough there, and that's why you saw me kind of gauging my power. I wanted it to clip the rough. I knew that I really didn't have a good chance of stopping that if I hit the fairway. So if you guys are wondering what I was trying to do in terms of my shot setup, I was trying to clip it into the rough, make sure that it was over the bunker though. So I had to prioritize, play a little bit safer. It ended up being long, and as you could see, it was just going to roll through. However, where I just rolled through to, it's at least a 50-50 shot that I'm going to be able to get to the green. And if you haven't noticed, we have upgraded all the sand wedge and rough iron data as well. So I'd like to, you know, go over that for this next shot so you guys can see it, because it's much better data than anything you've ever used previously. We've upgraded every club of every level for the data. So the one thing that you are going to see, first off, I want to talk about this because this is one of the most uphill holes in the game. Let me just show you this view. The pin is completely out of the picture. This hole is severely uphill. We're talking 15-20%. And this is one of the only holes in the game that has that kind of. So since I'm going into overpower here, I'm going to use +15 or -15. But similarly, if I wasn't doing overpower, I might use -20 because it's that uphill. I'm also going to use the max ring number, as you can see. So let's take a look here. I'm kind of just going to try to play the wind effect more than anything, kind of somewhere in this fashion. 7.5 rings. I can't tell where my time is, so gotta hurry. It looks like I got perfect ball though. But what you're gonna see is it looks like it comes straight up on, and I was trying to play wind effect, and so that's why you can see that it kind of misses to the right, because I wanted to make sure that the wind, especially when it's a side wind like that hard to the left, that I have enough spin to counteract the effects there. So there you can see, you know, even with the aggressive drive, as I mentioned, it was going to be a coin flip that I could still reach that eye. All winds that were north pointed, I was going to be able to reach the green. All winds that were south pointed, I wasn't going to be able to. So as I mentioned, you know, thanks guys for coming to this stream. I am going to cut this one off. If you guys need to get a hold of me at any time, you know, you can always find me in Learn or Burn. Similarly, if you guys have a desire to join, just feel free to send a message there. And if you guys need to find me for notebook assistance or help or whatever, you can find me in Messenger. And send me a PM, and I can try to, you know, link you to where you need. You know, we want to make sure that everybody's on the same page, knows how to use all these tools, and you know, it's not confusing to anybody. So we're here to help you guys. Want to make sure that you guys have all the stuff that you need, And, feel free to reach out at any time. So thanks, guys, for showing up. Like I said, I really appreciate it. And hopefully you guys are having really great success with the app. And again, if you need further assistance on actually how to play using the new win numbers, do check out the tournament guides. It doesn't matter if you played the tournament. It's kind of irrelevant. Just check it out. And there's a lot of important information, just kind of like how I went over for this. But I think even in the tournament guide, I did an even better job, because this was a little bit harder to organize, where I have to kind of talk to you guys at the same time. But thanks for being here, guys, and I'll catch you guys later.